down every now and then to keep myself on topic. But Leighton asked me to speak a little bit about being a woman and being an entrepreneur. So I'll share my experience with you guys. Society's had this trend for the last little while. I don't know how many women were in College Pro when you first started, Leighton, but I'm sure there was a lot less than there are now. And this year I know that we've hired 7 so far, and we're still hiring. So there's quite a few women that are kind of stepping up to the plate. Society's following the same trend. Women as entrepreneurs, it's less and less rare, and those women are becoming more and more successful. And we are becoming more and more competitive with the men. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not bashing you guys in the crowd or anything like that, and what I'm gonna say here is not just applicable to women. I mean, it's important for everyone to hear. And I mean, I don't want to sound feminist. We were talking a little bit before we started here, but I'm all for women being, powerful and equal. But don't get me wrong, I like to have the door held for me, and I like to be spoiled and all those things. So that's important to keep in mind as well. There is this stereotype that exists that men make better entrepreneurs and men make better business people, and they are more likely to succeed. And you guys as in you men are absolutely capable of succeeding, but the women are as well. So that stereotype isn't necessarily true, and that's kind of what I want to speak to. When I started College Pro, I had absolutely no experience in business. I had no experience in painting even, and I did become successful in a very short period of time. And that was, through the help of my coaches and the opportunity that College Pro gave me. But it was also because I put in a lot of work, right? And I put in just as much as, if not more, than some of the guys that were in the organization. And I became just as successful as most of them. In fact, I was even more successful than some of them, right? Not to toot my own horn, but that's just the way it worked out, right? And there are some unique challenges as a woman, right? The stereotype that exists presents those challenges. I think what's the most important to know is that women have the same opportunities in front of them. And the challenges that we run into, most of them are a result of the stereotype and not a result of our skills and abilities. One of the big things that I noticed was, being in a trade, it's hard to gain trust from your clients. You have to work a little bit harder for, if you're sitting down with a husband and wife, trying to explain to them, what you're going to be doing, either whether it's window cleaning or painting. It's harder to gain their trust as a woman than it is, as a guy, because stereotypically, guys are the ones that do the plumbing and the electricity and do the painting and all that kind of stuff, right? So that was a bit of a challenge I had to overcome. But on the other side of it, women do have a little bit of an advantage. We can gain trust a little bit easier in some areas, because women tend to have this nurturing, motherly side, right? Especially as you get older, and with that comes this natural inclination to be fair and to be very accommodating. And that's kind of like general knowledge. I don't know if you guys will agree with me on the crowd, but generally you would imagine a woman as someone who is more trustworthy maybe necessarily than a businessman. And so on that side of things, sometimes you can gain trust a little easier when you're just talking about price, or you're talking about you can count on me to do what's right. So we have some advantages and we have some challenges. I know another one of the big challenges I faced was, as a woman, people often feel that they can maybe take advantage of that good nature that naturally comes with us, right? So I did have to there's one particular situation where I had a client who didn't pay me right away, right? And it was, it never came out clearly, but I do feel that some of it was because I was, a young female student. It's a little bit easier to just walk over top of a young female student than it would be to walk over top of a 40-year-old guy that's been running a business for a few years, right? So that's another big thing. And then the last big challenge I had was earning respect from people, such as my staff and my clients, right? Oftentimes, it's hard to boss around someone who's older than you, and for a woman, it's even harder to boss around a guy that's older than you. And one of the big things that I took away was learning how not to boss people around and learning how to lead people instead. And that was one of the biggest things I struggled with when I started. I was almost pushing too hard. It's kind of like if you've got a guy on one side of a door and a girl on the other, and the guy's trying to keep the door closed and the woman's trying to push it open, and eventually it slams open, right? And that was kind of the situation I was in. I was pushing too hard, and I was just going to the total other side. I was really bossing people around and telling them what to do because I wanted that respect that I wasn't getting. And through the help of my coach Leighton here, and just experience, I learned that that's not how you get people to respect you, right? People respect you when you start to lead them, when you align their goals with yours, and you help them learn how to be successful on their own, and you respect them back, right? So as a woman, I needed to learn that it's important not to demand respect. It's important to earn it in the same way that men do, right? You work as an ethical person, someone that people can look up to, and you know what? Once I did that, I had no problem, and my staff went away. At the end of this year, they went away with a great relationship with myself, and we had a discussion, and they were all very, very happy that they worked for me this summer, and they had a really good experience, and they learned a lot from it. So that was definitely important. There really isn't much of a difference between men and women in the business world. I know I was kind of just speaking to the challenges that we have, and maybe I mentioned a little bit about the advantage, but when you get right down to it, we, besides being a little bit shorter and slighter than men, we have the same brain. We can work just as hard, and we can be just as motivated. So I think that for you ladies out there, it's really important to keep that in mind when you're facing challenges that a guy may not face, right? I think the most rewarding thing about being a woman in business is that when you walk away from it, because you have those extra challenges to overcome, you can not only say, I ran a business for 2 years and went to school. You can say to everybody, I ran a business for 2 years and I went to school, and I'm a woman, right? And I know that out of my group of high school friends, I'm the only person that's done something like this, and that's cool. It's a cool feeling to say, yeah, I made X amount of dollars last year. How much did you make? And I had staff, and I had an assistant, and I brought in, I managed $125,000 of revenue, and I managed that cash flow. That's an experience that most of your colleagues and most of your friends won't have, and that's an experience that you can put on your resume when you graduate. Like Leighton was saying, it's not just words on your resume, it's like concrete skills that you have gained and you walked away from your business with. They are very transferable skills. I know that one of the things I wanted to mention was, and I won't go on about this for too long, but being able to manage your finances and being able to manage people and build relationships, which is something that women are naturally, good at, I think, in my personal opinion. Being able to do that well is valuable to any employer, and even if you don't work for someone in the future, if you run your own business, what better experience to have than to have done it all before? So I think that's another thing that's really important to keep in mind. And the last thing is, I gained a lot of confidence that I didn't have before I started running a business, and a lot of that confidence came from being able to overcome those challenges. And I now feel like there isn't anything out there that I can't at least try, right? And of course, my natural skills may be a barrier for me to do some things, but I'm not afraid to try those things anymore because I've already done one of the toughest things you can do as a woman, which is compete in a man's world. I think so. Just to finish up, I hope that all of you guys that haven't signed up for College Pro, I hope that you at least do sign up, because you really won't find the same opportunity anywhere else. It's extremely unique, and it's so beneficial. And it's not for everybody, but make an educated decision. Sign up, get some information about it, and then decide whether or not you want to, further your path with College Pro, because you'd be hard pressed to find something like this anywhere else. So that's all I have to say, and I hope I get to speak to some of you guys in person afterwards.
Awesome.